The warrior Luke smiles in the face of a dangerous giant dragon. He runs towards the monster while his party watches on. The other members create spells to back him up while also cheering him on. Luke jumps towards the creature with his sword and swears that he will kill it. In the end, the dragon's head lies under the warrior's boot. That night, they camp by the fire next to the dragon's corpse. Ort the sage informs the others that there are still other dragons lurking out there. Laisha, the saintess, sees the worry in Luke's face, so she smiles at him and assures him that everything will be fine. The blushing man finds comfort in her words, only to find himself covered in fatal wounds a few hours later. In front of him is his party. Watching him as his strength drains, they all tell him that this is where they part with him. Luke is confused as to why they have attacked him and demands to know why. Laisha tells him with regret that it is because he is a monster for being the only S-rank warrior of their nation who can slaughter monsters with ease for his nation. However, now that the monster threat is finally over, he is the only monster left. Ort adds that he will bring down the kingdom if they let him live much longer. Luke screams that he will never do anything to endanger the kingdom. Laisha replies that this is only true now and that he might change his mind in the future. Ellie, the mage, gives her holy sword to Laisha. Luke looks on, shocked that they are really about to do this. Carefully, he reaches for his own sword on the ground. Ort snaps his finger, summoning magic chains that wrap themselves around Luke before he can get away. The sage tells Luke that dying from his former friends is the only mercy they can offer. The little fairy of the party smiles and laughs at the S-rank warrior situation. Luke talks to Ellie to convince her that she is making a mistake. The girl's guilt-ridden face shows that she is reluctant to slay him. Ort tells her that it is still her job to finish him. So the girl approaches Luke and readies to use her wand against him. The girl's body quivers and she starts to cry. Ort and Laisha see how difficult this is for her, so Laisha volunteers to take over for her. She approaches Luke with her holy sword instead. She asks what his last words are and then readies to swing her weapon. He tells her that he will never forget what they have done this day. Then Laisha killed him instantly. Luke narrates to explain that his companions are the strongest adventurers because of miraculous powers granted to them known as blessings. Ort the sage had been blessed by the Great Spirit. Eli the mage was blessed by the demon lord, and the saintess Laisha was blessed by the goddess. He then goes on to explain that he himself was blessed by the phoenix, the divine bird of immortality. Due to this fact, he declares that he can never die. 3 months later, giant killer bees are about to enter the small town of Azam. Facing them to protect the townspeople is the man who wears a black metal mask known only as Lugo. Lugo tells Lily, the village apothecary, to stay back. With powerful fire magic, the masked man blasts away all the killer bees, wrecking a chunk of the forest entrance in the process. The villagers cheer at their hero for his power. That is except for Lily, who is nervous about the danger his power poses. She stares at Lugo, feeling suspicious about who he might actually be. Later, Lily visits the village chief, insisting that there is something off about Lugo. Despite her urgency, the old chief remains curious and cheerful. She continues to say that the masked man is way too strong, citing the many situations where he took down monsters and a band of thieves all on his own. The chief does not see the problem since their village became peaceful because of him. However, Lily is more concerned about the strange coincidence that Lugo appeared in their town at the same time as Luke, the S-rank adventurer, died 3 months ago. She believes that the man must have taken down Luke for a high bounty and is now hiding his identity because of it. The chief still says that it is not in his philosophy to turn away from anyone who comes to their village, and that they do not have to worry as long as Lugo has not done any bad things since he arrived. Lily insists that she should just investigate for herself. So the chief informs her that he had asked him to take care of their black bear problem. Later, Lily walks into the forest. There, she asks the minor spirit to guide him towards Lugo. Small golden orbs of light appear before her. She talks to them with a smile, asking that they also not lead her to the monster. With their guide, she runs determined to expose the truth about Lugo. She stops as she sees Lugo sitting by the open field. Before Lily notices, Lugo is already beside her. The shocked girl asks how he is beside her, if he was sitting in the distance a second ago. He tells her that the one sitting is just his after-image and fades away slowly after. He then asks the girl what she is doing in the forest, making her nervous. She makes up the story that she was worried about him because she had heard that he went after the black bears. Lugo replies that he will simply trap the black bears, but the girl does not believe it is that easy. He shows him the honey-filled beehive he got from the killer bees earlier. He places it on the ground and casts gravity magic surrounding it. It amazes the girl that he can use such advanced magic with ease. They then hear the sound of bear coming, and so they hide in the bushes. A black bear appears and gets hungry the moment it sees the hive. It runs towards it, making it step on the gravity magic. In an instant, the bear dies by being pulled violently to the ground. It was not long before the trap killed dozens of bears. Seeing him hunt down bears so easily makes Lily even more curious about who is under the mask. Her eyes show the resolve to discover who GHI is more than ever. Later at night, Lily writes down in a journal how the S-rank adventurer known as Luke fell 3 months ago and how monstrous threats have been rapidly increasing across the globe since then. Since then, fields of vegetables have been ravaged, livestock have been stolen, and production and distribution have been thrown into chaos. The next day, Lily gets upset to hear that the carriage carrying their village goods has been attacked. The carriage driver tells her that they were surrounded by selves and that they stole everything. She looks at the few boxes remaining and sees that even the medicine and herbs were stolen. The old woman beside her is even more upset that her sweet buns were stolen. Lily tries to comfort her that there are still buns left in the village, but the old lady says that the stolen buns were special gourmet masterpieces. Lugo sees them and asks what is going on. Lily informs him that their carriage has been stolen, only to realize that the masked man is already carrying so many bundles of the carriage boxes. The carriage driver is shocked to see that his stolen cargo is back. Lugo tells him that he got them from the sylphs. Lily gets excited now that she can finally make more medicine. The people go on to inspect every box. Lily notices that Lugo is uneasy. He tells her that the number of boxes seems to still be small considering the size of the carriage. The old lady then discovers that the box that should be containing her sweet buns is empty, making her cry. It leads Lily to check her box and see that it is empty of medicine too. This makes Lugo angry with the sylphs, and he begins to grip his hands tightly. An earthquake begins only for them to realize that it was due to Lugo stomping the ground. He goes to the forest and swears that he will get everything back from the sylphs. Lily follows him and tells him that she will tag along. In truth, she is afraid that Lugo might get so angry that he will destroy everything along with the village. Meanwhile, a sylph named Pei is hovering and is stalking Lugo and Lily as they walk. She swears that she will trap the masked man with her traps. Lugo spots her and blasts her with fire magic. This leads to Sylph falling to the ground. Lugo has no patience and demands that she tell him where her queen is. Pei is left reluctantly leading them the way to her home. She informs the two that the queen is deep in the forest and hands them a map with markings to show them where she hid all her traps. She then pleads with Lugo to finally let her go. He says no. So the girl begs with more tears in her eyes, claiming that the queen will punish her if she does more to help them. Lily shows mercy for her and asks that Lugo let her go. Pei praises her kindness. Lugo pulls Pei towards him and then tickles her. As a result, the sylph drops something. Lily picks it up only to realize that it is an undergarment. She then realizes that it is her own garment and shouts at her for stealing it. Lugo informs Lily that sylphs have been stealing magic. Lily asks Pei if this is true, but the sylph denies it and tells her that it must be the masked man who really stole it from her. Lily screams at her for lying. Lugo warns her never to trust a sylph's word. Lily has had enough and demands that Pei tell them where the queen is, immediately intimidating the sylph. The trio have reached the sylph's nest where Lugo starts blasting every sylph with fire magic. Lugo, Lily, and Pei walk, crossing many sylphs that are unconscious until they reach the door to the queen's chambers. Lily asks Pei if there are any traps. She says there is none, but with a mischievous smile. She looks and sounds so suspicious that Lugo blasts the door, causing it to explode into pieces. They see that the queen is lying on the floor because of the impact. Even so, Lugo is impressed that she withstood the blast. The queen gets back up, impressing Lily with how quickly she is to recover. The queen introduces herself as Maya and brags that the blast was not strong enough to take her down. Despite her confident attitude, she still looks obviously in pain. She then makes a show that she is okay by declaring that she is fine. Maya tells them that she has the Fairy King's blessing, and that this means no one can lay a finger on her. Pisha cheers for Her Majesty. Lugo gets to the point and asks where the cargo she and her people stole is. Maya makes a big face of denying she knows anything, but deep down, the man intimidates her. Lugo then asks what her people are stealing weapons and drugs from humans for. The queen replies with a boast that she is preparing for war. She elaborates that since Luke has died, is the perfect opportunity for them to defeat the humans and usher in the age of sylphs. She points at Lily. A golden orb of light exits Lily's chest. This causes the girl to go unconscious, so Lugo catches her. The orb of light heads to Maya's hand, and she grabs it. She reveals that her theft magic can even steal souls. She tries to take Lugo's soul too. However, she finds that her spell is not working. Lugo explains that her magic does not work on someone with greater magical power than herself. Pei is insulted by his claim, believing that no human can ever measure up to Her Majesty's power. Lugo says he is no ordinary human and then removes his helmet. Maya is shocked to see his face. Pei sees her queen worried and asks what is wrong. Time recalls when she was a child and her mother, the previous queen, warned her not to cross paths with some humans. Among them was the S-rank adventurer Luke. Now she is shocked to see that he is still alive in front of her. Luke tells her that he will take Lily's soul back along with the cargo. With Luke's wave of his hand, Maya and Pei experience the heavy weight of his gravity magic that causes their bodies to be stuck and continuously pushed on the ground. The pressure is so high that Pei goes unconscious. Still, Maya struggles to get up. Luke asks if she has reflected on her actions. The proud queen said that she would never do that. Deep down, she believes she has to stay strong for her duty as the self-queen. She screams with resolve that she will never lose to someone like him. This leads Luke to release her from his gravity spell. She asks why she cancelled the spell when it was a golden opportunity to kill her. Luke asks why she is thinking of starting a war, catching the queen off guard. He reminds her that her people could have just stayed in peace without bothering anyone. Maya tells him that ever since he disappeared, monsters have been more active in attacking his people. She tried to ask for the humans to help, but she was turned away at the gates. She remembered the lack of empathy in the humans' eyes back then. She elaborates that it was the moment she decided to occupy the human kingdom, so that the humans would realize the threat of monsters again. She envisioned that humans would hunt down the monsters by then. She believes that the only reason she did not get away with it is that he showed up. She goes to her knees and offers the opportunity for him to execute her. Her only request is for him to spare her comrades who helped her. Luke replies that she should come to Azam village, surprising the queen. He declares that he will protect her people. His condition is that they stop attacking humans, especially since there are strong humans in the capital that she can never hope to defeat anyway. Maya never realized this and asks if he is serious. He replies without pause that he is. Looking at his eyes, Maya can tell that he is not lying and so agrees not to attack the humans anymore. She reaches out her hand and asks him to agree to protect them. Luke grabs his hand and says that he agrees. 2 weeks later, Lily heads to the cheat's house where she delivers the medicine she made. She argues that because of Lugo, all the medicine and other cargo have returned. She asks the village chief what he thinks of Azam village current state. He answers that he believes that Azam has become even better. He asks Harmel if she agrees. Harmel is revealed to be the old lady who wanted the sweet buns, and now she is enjoying eating a lot of them with Maya eating right beside her. Lily reports that a large number of Silks have settled in Azam village. They help carry goods, patrol the outskirts, and take care of the elderly, like giving them massages. Looking outside, she sees Silks enjoying their day outside with the humans. Despite the seeming peace, Lily still feels uneasy since they stole from them, and she even temporarily lost her soul to them. Maya suddenly goes to her to ask if Lugo likes sweet buns. Lily does not know and asks why she is asking. With an innocent smile, Maya answers that it is because she wants to eat them with Lugo. Her smile is so cute that it warms Lily's heart to the point of embracing her and forgetting her grudge against her. The chief interjects to remind them what day it is. Lily realizes that they have to be ready because officials from the capital are coming to inspect their village. She reminds Maya that if they make one wrong move, the inspectors might decide that the Sylphs need to be terminated. The chief tells them that he thinks that everything will be fine, and that he is even sure that the inspectors will come to love their village. Lily still wants to be cautious and tells Maya that she is counting on her. Maya declares that she will show the inspectors the best hospitality possible. A chariot is on its way to Azam village. Riding inside is the guild inspector Lulu, who does not like her current duty of checking the condition of the sylphs in Azam village. With her is investigator Gyram, who shares his worry that Azam village might be being tricked by the sylphs considering their sly and mischievous nature. He believes that if even rank C adventurers have trouble taking down sylphs, then ordinary villagers wouldn't stand a chance. Lulu says that this is exactly why she brought him along. Gyram says that if the sylphs show the slightest suspicious movement, then he will cut them down. The carriage takes a sudden stop. Lulu and Gyram look outside and see a silhouette of something coming out of the woods. They think that it might be an elaborate silk prank. Gyram realizes what it is and in response shouts at the driver to move the horses. Horses. A second later, the chariot is being chased by a giant centipede known as a deathworm. Despite the danger, Lulu is so excited to see one for the first time. She orders Gyram to take the monster down, but he says that even a rank adventurers can't kill it. The inside of the carriage suddenly turns darker. Lulu and Gyram are in horror to see that the deathworm's face is just outside their window, looking directly at them. Outside, its gigantic body already surrounds the carriage. They worry that this is the end for them. Slowly, the deathworm coils its body on the carriage. Gyram goes outside to face the creature. He is about to charge at it, only for Lugo to attack the creature from behind and behead it. Lulu praises Gyram for the kill, but he assures her it was not him. They see that the metal-headed man has arrived to rescue them. Later on, Lugo guides them to the village. Lulu thanks him for everything, unlike Gyram, who refuses to say anything. Lulu realizes that Gyram's pride was hurt since they believe that Lugo is just an ordinary villager who took down a monster he could not. Gyram looks closely at the masked man, not sure if he agrees that he is ordinary. They head to the village chief's home. They enter where they see that the chief and Time greet them in lively poses. Despite their efforts to be exciting, Lulu and Gyram greet them stoically and professionally. Lulu starts the business by showing them around. She elaborates that they came to report on how sylphs and humans are living together. The chief tells them that life has been better since the sylphs arrived. Maya asks that Lugo also come along when they show them around the village. She grabs his hand and walks with him. Gyram tells Lulu that despite her cheery attitude, he can't see a single opening to attack her. Lulu can tell the same vigilance is coming from Lugo. She turns on her power to probe people and sets her eyes on Maya. Multiple graphic windows pop up around Lulu with information about Maya. She sees that Maya has a blessing and now knows how powerful she is. Her power makes Lulu believe that it was only right for them to come to the village. The chief thinks that she thinks Maya looks cute and adorable and tells her that she won't find anyone like her anywhere. Lulu wants to know more about her but sets her eyes on Lugo. She is shocked to see that her graphic windows give him gibberish language she can't read. The window in front of her suddenly shadows and is replaced with a window of Lugo's face, which demands that she stop prying further. Lulu gets so intimidated by the graphic of Lugo's face that she backs away. Lugo gets behind her to catch her from getting off balance, making the woman sweat. She asks who he really is. Lugo answers with an intimidating aura that it would be better if she did not know. Gyram can tell that something is wrong with Lulu, so she tells him that she just has a headache. Maya interjects to declare that the perfect first stop is the apothecary. Maya shows the apothecary house to them, only for Gyram to tell her it looks run down. Despite Luo saying he is being rude, she feels the same thing deep down. Lugo knocks on the door to tell Lily that she has a patient. Lily opens the door to greet them. To Lulu, she looks too young to be an apothecary. Lily tells Lulu that she already knows about her headache and that everything is ready for the treatment. She lets her patient lie down. Gyram asks if there is a real doctor around, making Maya say he is really rude. Lily says that it is true that she is not some fancy doctor, leading Maya to defend her for being an amazing apothecary. Lu can tell from the smell of herbs on Locum that she is experienced and so feels at ease that she is the one treating her. Lily goes to work by asking the minor spirits where the patient is hurt, causing golden orbs to show up. She explains to Lulu that she has been blessed with the minor spirits. The gold orbs tell Lily the source of the headache. Lulu is impressed that she diagnosed her with ease. Lily then calls Pei to bring her medicine. Gyram is shocked that she has an assistant. A door opens, shocking Gyram that Pei is a self. She brings Lily the medicine, shocking Garam even more at how seemingly close they are. Lily then shows her patient the medicine and explains that one adjusts her flow of magic while the other eases her headaches. Lulu is impressed. She has so many like them in stock when it would take doctors from the capital to get them. Lily informs her that it is because Pei and the other sylphs are very knowledgeable when it comes to forest herbs and know exactly what herbs to find and where. Thanks to them, they can now keep rare and expensive medicines in stock at all times. Lulu is suspicious since sylphs are not known to trust humans with their herbs. She holds the medicine in her hand, anticipating that she will know if their bond is true once she takes it. She swallows the medicine, and it instantly makes her headache vanish. She is impressed since medicine like it is unheard of even in the capital. Lily explains that it is a medicine she made herself with Pei's help. Lily reviews that she is a young woman with a blessing, knowledge, and skill, and sees it as a waste that she is only in a backwater village. She asks the apothecary if she has ever considered coming to the capital. She explains that her skills would make her in demand there, and that the guild will give her a large clinic. Lily refuses the offer. Lulu asks why when she would have top facilities there, room for advancement, and a huge salary. The apothecary simply answers that she loves Azam village. She admits that she would like better facilities, but only because she wants to better help people. She also explains that simply having Pei and the sylphs around already makes her grow as an apothecary because of their knowledge of herbs and their ability to warn her ahead of time when a patient is coming. Lulu recalls how Lily was ready for her the moment she arrived. Maya explains that they fly all over the village and report back if anything is off. Time also tells her she is not interested in the capital either since she knows that the village is the safest with Lugo with them. Garam recalls how Lugo took down the killer worm. He asks the masked man to show him how he lives normally in the village. Lugo agrees and advises that they keep up with him. They head to the forest where Lulu and Garam are frantically running away from something. They recall asking Lugo to show them his daily routine. Now the two are being chased by many deathworms. Commanding the pack is a deathworm bigger than the others. The two are getting near Lugo, the chief, and Maya, who are just relaxing like nothing urgent is happening. They ask the chief to run, but he remains calm, saying that things like this happen all the time. The old man even offers them tea. They shake the old man to make him understand what kind of danger they are dealing with. Suddenly, many of the deathworms go unconscious. Maya tells Lulu and Garam that she stole their souls with her theft magic. She boasts that even the souls of monsters are not safe from her. They ask that she take care of the giant one too, making the big one scared. Maya informs them that the big one is immune to her magic. Lugo informs her that its core is high up on its forehead and that her theft magic can't reach it. Garam warns Lugo not to battle it, but the masked man is more focused on the sword at his waist. He asks if he can borrow it. With Garam's sword, Lugo faces the monster. Behind him, Maya is cheering him on. The giant charges at him, causing Lugo to strike a fighting stance. Lulu recognizes the stance. She explains to Garam that he has the same stance as Luke. Lugo moves forward with quick speed. After a second, the giant deathworm is revealed to be sliced in two. Maya cheers for his victory. The chief makes the inspectors understand that Lugo is Azam village guardian. Looking at the site, they understand perfectly. The inspectors then drive back in their carriage. Lulu narrates her report about Azam village and about how the Celts have brought knowledge that advanced agriculture and how their dexterity advanced their industry, how their size and mobility developed their information networks. Their assistance to the aging population is a blessing. She ends the report by stating that the reason the Silks are so cooperative with humans is that Azam village has become the safest place around. Lily wonders if she should name Lugo in her report. Garam sees her hesitating to write and tells her she should definitely report Lugo to the guild because he is a huge asset. Garam shares his passion to tell everyone about Lugo so that he can learn from him and reach a rank. Lulu remembers asking Lugo if he would ever come to the capital and how he answered he will not. The masked man advised her to keep reaching out to Lily and Maya, believing they might accept her offer eventually. She wonders if she will eventually get Lugo too if she keeps reaching out to him. She believes that they need to get a new hero now that Luke is gone. She informs Garam that this is what her friend, Lisha, told her. Garam realizes that she is talking about the strongest Sinks in Luke's party. Lulu shares her excitement about telling Lisha about Lugo. A week after the investigators left, a different monster was being battled behind the clinic. Pei and Lily were completely serious as they were going to be locked in an intense battle with overgrown weeds. They had run wild after being left alone for years, but now it was time for the final showdown. The two ladies charged in, armed with sharp sickles and determination. However, they succumbed to plain old back pain 3 hours later. Curious about the mission, the sylph wonders why they suddenly had to mow away at the weeds and is told that the apothecary wants to turn the space into a nice garden. That way, they can grow the herbs they collect without much trouble. Pace says they can just keep harvesting them from the forest, but Lily would be heartbroken if any of them were attacked by monsters and were hurt. The sylph nearly cries upon seeing how much the girl cares for them and becomes all determined to help her achieve her goal. She runs off, promising to be back soon with the strongest helper they can get. Although confused, she isn't left alone for too long as Lugo appears carrying one of their sickles and saying he'll take care of the rest. Lily watched, well aware of how strong he is, but believing that he'll also have trouble. Suddenly, all serious, he warns them against coming close as it might be dangerous. Before they could doubt him any further, a huge and razor-sharp tornado appeared from his swing, cutting all the weeds and blowing the debris away. The women are stunned silent, shocked that all that was left before them was a clean patch of soil. Cut weed fell neatly into a pile, and the job was done just like that. As expected, he's the best person for the job. Finally asked what they were doing in the first place, the apothecary shares her plans for a garden. Seemingly interested, Lily shows him a bunch of seeds she intends to plant, which also work as an ingredient for mono recovery potions. He's impressed by her ambitions, and they continue to talk about the various herbal plants she intends to grow. The masked man is glad, adding that working the soil was actually fun. She can't help but smile. Crouching beside him, she says he's been a really big help, and the image of the two working together makes Pei's heart flutter. Soon enough, several soil beds are prepared and full of seeds. Lily thanks Lugo, feeling like she took too much of his time, but he just tells her to call for him if they ever need more help. The young girl is mesmerized by his kindness and warmth. Back then, she confronted the chief and insisted that he's the one who killed Luke. The black helmet he never takes off is definitely creepy, but he's never heard her or anyone in the village. With this in mind, she considers trusting him even just a little bit. A bright smile spreads across her face, accepting his offer of help. In return, she tells him to approach her as well. If he ever needs anything she can help with, Lugo agrees to do so should the situation arise. She did not know, but Lily would soon come to regret the agreement they just made. The next day, the poor lady's voice roared throughout her house. Pei rushed in, worriedly asking what happened, and saw her friend shaking as she pointed to a pile of letters, all of which were medicine mixing requests. All of them are formulas that require precision, and she doesn't know how long it'll take to make them all. Aside from the normal ones, there were fairly suspicious requests, which she decides to report later on. As they wondered how this happened in the first place, Lugo entered. He's surprised to see the pile on her table, sharing that he's swamped with letters as well, and guesses that Lulu must have spread their names around the capital. The worst thing he received was this regal-looking letter, which came directly from the Holy Church of Erat. Lily is shocked and amazed by the huge news. After all, a holy church is affiliated with the Saint Tessalicia, who was in a party with the hero. Lugo then reveals that she invited him into her party. They're unable to react right away, more so when he says that she's about to visit their village. Looking over the letter, they confirm the request and encourage the masked man to accept as it's an amazing opportunity. Recalling his bad experience with the same test, he says he's afraid she might do something again. Hearing this, the ladies immediately get the wrong idea and wonder if it was an unfortunate ending to a romance. Rejecting the idea, he cuts it off as he simply does not want to see her. Then recalling how Lily offered her help if he were to ever need it, he says this was the moment. The secretive man wants her to meet Lisha in his place and turn down her invitation. Beads of sweat ran down the girl's face as she was stunned by the sudden request. He finalizes it saying this was his favor. Teacups trembled in Lily's hand. It's true that she offered Lugo help, but she didn't expect that it would be such a ridiculous one. She serves the tea, still shaking in nervousness. The saintess accepts it with a gratuitous smile, looking as regal and pure as ever. They already knew about it, but her golden silk-like hair, the grace that radiates from her entire being, and the obviously powerful holy knight at her side. There was no doubt that the person before her was the Holy Church's saintess. Remarkable tense, the apothecary asks what brought such an important person to her home. Even if she's told not to, the situation just brings it out naturally. Maya, who doesn't seem to have trouble with it at all, screams that there's no reason to freak out. She's been acknowledged by the fairy queen, so all she had to do was stand proud. Leisha piles on, sharing that she's heard all about her excellence as an apothecary. As amicable as her reputation, she adds that she's even heard about the great fairy queen. That being said, she'd like for both of them to return to the capital with her and be of service there. The two are stunned by the abrupt announcement and urgently remind her that they've declined the offer before, as they both want to stay in the village. A swift wave of steel brush passed the girl's face. The holy knight pointed her blade, glaring at her for the sudden movement toward the saintess. Elise is told to calm down and lower her blade. Composed and collected, Leisha says knights are far too passionate sometimes. It would do well to hold back, as it'd be trouble for everyone if a sync test candidate were to be harmed. Lily's eyes grew in disbelief, struggling to comprehend what she was being told. The current sync test smiles brightly, confirming it like it's the most natural thing. She has intelligence to run a clinic, skilled to impress Lulu, and trust she's earned from the villagers. Most of all, she has a special healing presence, which would be a gift for most. Taking the girl's hand, she alone decides that it's all settled and announces that she'll be made into the saintess, who'll raise the church to even higher glory. Lily repeatedly declines, not following the progression of the conversation. Unable to pull her hand away, she confirms that it's just as Lugo warned. He told them that the sly woman was going to come aggressively from the start. If they let her control the pace, they'd be playing right into her hands. That said, all she's heard about the revered saintess was about grace and love, so the girl believed that there's no way she would come that strongly. He says that's exactly her tactic. She uses that image to catch someone off guard, so they have to push forward just to stay afloat. If Lily doesn't flip the momentum here, it'll go exactly like Lugo said. In this case, she returns her gaze and says she has something to say first. Getting her chance, the brave girl repeats that they've all already declined her offer and asks the visitors to leave. Maya smiles proudly, Ellis grips her blade, and Alicia is taken aback by her insistence. Now having a change in demeanor, the lady says there seems to be a misunderstanding. Raising her hand, she summons a blinding magic circle beneath them, meant to teleport them back to the capital. Once they're safely inducted into the Holy Church, all the confusion should be cleared up. She says this all with a smile, but Maya knows better and says they have to get away from the dangerous woman. Keeping a firm grip on the girl's hand, Leisha's gaze changes as she admits that she was hoping that the fairy queen would join them as well. The teleportation circle grew brighter, and Elise stepped in to join them. Things were gradually getting worse. Back then, she believed that there's no way to reach this point, but Lugo says they only think that way out of pure ignorance. Should things get too out of hand, they're instructed to call in for help. Lily does as told and screams his name. Just then, the masked man immediately came crashing through a window. They're surprised by his quick response. He was staying nearby just in case, but he didn't imagine that they actually use a teleportation spell. Meeting each other's eyes, they scream for help, and he rushes in to pull them away. However, it all works to Leisha's advantage, as she can now have all three of them. This saves her a lot of time, and she can just bring everyone in one go. Panic spreads across their faces, realizing that he came a bit too late. A bright flash of light illuminated the entire house. Just like that, the entire group disappeared from the village. Pei excitedly entered the home, saying Harmel made some pancakes for their guests. To her surprise, there was absolutely no one inside. She looked around trying to find her friends and had no idea that they were in the Eret Holy Church's headquarters. Lily held a white outfit in her hands. It was the church's sacred vestments reserved only for its esteemed members. She moved it around, wondering if it was okay for her to wear such fine clothes. That said, not putting it on feels kind of weird as well. They were teleported out of her house so abruptly, and it was such strong magic that not even Lugo could cancel it. As she was losing hope, the masked man spoke seriously, saying they'll be in enemy territory and advising her to do as they say. After all, they'll protect her no matter what may come. Since he instructed her to be obedient, the young woman makes peace with wearing the vestments. A few minutes later, she looks as pure as ever, now clad in the church's white and gold outfit. It fit perfectly, and the tailoring is so fine that she would never be able to afford herself. Noting the gold accents and accessories, she realizes the perks of being the saintess. Now getting a feel for it, she clears her throat and dons an arrogant expression, going on about how her pseudo-followers must obey her commands. The persona quickly breaks down as Maya bursts into the room, telling her to hurry. Shyly hiding what she was doing, Lily then turns her attention to the Sylph's outfit. The little girl twirls to show it off, proud of her temporary nun look. The apothecary can't help but fawn over the little sister whose clothes were much more adorable than usual. Suddenly remembering something, Maya says there's something she has to show her. After walking a bit outside, they encounter a surprising image. Lugo was standing in the halls wearing pearly white armor that clash with his black mask. They make fun of the young man who argues that it's apparently part of the trial for joining. Leisha appears from behind, noting that they've all seemed to finish changing. With her signature bright smile, she says the clothes suit them well. Now they can move on and head to the tour of the chapel. It's a regal and grand space with a ceiling as high as the sky. Their mouths open wide, mesmerized at the beauty of the area. It's the first time they've been in such a large chapel. And in the middle of it all was an eye-catching painting of a woman and a bird. The woman depicted with blonde hair and clad in steel armor is Erit, the goddess whom the church faithfully worships. However, there was another thing there, which was the bright red bird that seemed to blaze. Leisha was about to explain when Lugo chimed in, explaining that it's the Phoenix Venex. Lily was amazed as it seemed like it could heal anything, but remembered that apothecaries like her would be out of a job if it really did exist. The masked man continues saying it's said to come back for revenge no matter how many times it's killed. In other words, it was an extremely troublesome bird. They wonder why he knows so much, but he reasons that it's just general knowledge. The others can't exactly agree with that, but instead focus on the amazing painting, wanting to be painted by the artist as well. Lugo says Venex and Areb both exist in the form of blessings, and if the fairy king makes a name for herself, can be painted like them. While Maya just gushes over his words and the possibility of being a legend, Leisha studies the masked man intently. Bothered by his knowledge, she asks if he isn't the tiniest bit interested. With his strength and intelligence, his name too can be immortalized in the history books. He immediately declines and rejects the mere idea, but the saintess doesn't let him finish, instead clinging to his hands and telling him to become a holy knight. Her eyes glisten despite his constant refusal, insisting that he can one day have a painting standing proud beside the goddess. Lily is tempted by the thought, but the faithful are still trying hard to push against his rejections. She goes on and on about how it would be the best fit for him and even offers to make a white mask to replace his black one. At this point, he forcefully pulls his hand away. Finally losing his composure, he raises his voice and says, "They'll never become a holy knight." Everyone is stunned by the unexpected outburst, and Leisha wonders if there was a misunderstanding somewhere. She was the first one who invited him, but his words make it seem like it's not. Even the other two are confused. Realizing that he made a mistake, Lugo waves it all off and moves on his own, rushing to head off to the next place. While the Saint Test runs after him, who is going the wrong direction, Lily and Maya whisper to each other, finding the very situation odd. While Alicia acts like it's the first time they met, he speaks as if they'd known each other for a while. They watch intently, finding it all suspicious. Following the two from behind, the girls try to make sense of what was happening. Lily suggests that Leisha must not recognize Lugo because of his mask. That said, his distinct voice and gestures are kind of hard to miss. With her words, Maya finally cracks the mystery and says it's all the mask's fault. Some armors come with recognition blocking enchantments, which are able to hide the wearer's identity. Given how forceful the woman is, they believe he must have made the mask specifically for her. Their conversation is interrupted as a high voice calls Lugo sly. Upon turning their heads, the two are surprised to see a bunch of sisters fawning over the masked man and pressing their bodies against his. He's trapped in an endless wave of compliments and invitations, earning varied reactions from his friends. The young man has become famous in an instant, contrasting how no one cared back in the village. Although the church is filled with women, opportunities to interact with men there are rare. After all, a male holy knights are expected to be celebrate for life and devote themselves to the goddess. On the other hand, the women are free to pursue whomever they want to. Seeing him crowded and overwhelmed with the nuns, Maya can't hold back anymore and rushes to pull him away. This doesn't seem necessary as Lugo gently takes a woman's hand and sets distance between them all. He's handling himself well enough. Apologizing, he says he's on guard duty today and will return to them should he find the time. The polite rejection works as they all gush over how well-mannered he is. After making promises to come back and see each other again, the masked man then marched toward Lily. To her surprise, he knelt down on one knee saying the crowd was getting a bit too thick. While it may be improper, he offers his hand to help and lead her way. He goes on about protecting her properly, and the ladies scream while blushing bright red. The young apothecary turns equally red, embarrassed as everyone is staring at them, realizing that they're from the same village. The nuns from earlier all squeal in jealousy. Lugo whispers that although he feels bad for them, one never knows where spies are in unfamiliar territory. As such, the young girl can think of it as a favor to him. Understanding the circumstances, she takes his hand and earns streaks from the crowd. Seeing this, Maya complains about feeling left out of his chivalry, but quickly turns soft as he explains that he can't protect them all if both his hands are occupied. With all that settled, Leisha ushers everyone to continue with the trial initiation. From that point, the tour went smoothly, and they were even able to visit important sites like the Grand Cathedral, the main altar, and even the choir room. Lily is mesmerized, feeling like she was in a sacred theme park. Meyer remains unimpressed and calls her a goof. The place they were in was far from a theme park and was actually a solid fortress. Outside, countless holy knights were crawling in guard. After all, force is sometimes necessary to protect the saints and sisters. As soon as the little girl realizes the reality, the group finally reaches the main event. The final facility is Litlina, the sacred sanctuary. Upon opening the grand doors, they're met with an enormous open space that was blindingly bright. The visitors have shallow comments, even saying that the stark white feels empty. Even so, it's the most important facility out of everything there. After all, it's where the sacred scripture is kept. Atop a high flight of stairs was a lone book sitting open on a podium. Seeing the saintess candidate's curiosity, Leisha extended her hand, encouraging her to take it. Hesitant, she cautiously turned to Lugo and reassured herself that he'll save her should it be necessary. With this, the girl climbs the stairs. The mask protector doesn't sense any danger for now, and refusing here would only cause more trouble. That said, he remains completely on guard. Finally reaching the top, Lily is instructed to step forward. Looking at the empty pages, she's eerily told to pray to the goddess Erat. Atop the high staircase, Lily is both confused and surprised by what she sees. She calls Tailsha, saying there's nothing written in the scriptures. Apparently, the prophecy of the goddess only shows once someone worthy starts praying. With this, she places the girl's hand on the blank pages. Recalling the divine revelation she spoke of in the village, she tells the child to relax. The saint test received 3 revelations in total. The first spoke of an Eisen girl born of monsters bringing salvation to the kingdom. Second is the arrival of someone long awaited, possibly one strong enough to fight the monsters. Before speaking of the third, she grips the girl's hand tight and presses it aggressively on the scripture. The last revelation was a troublesome one. The one chosen to be a saint must be a beautiful human with extraordinary talent. She spoke to her only briefly, but that short encounter with her talent and charm was enough to captivate the saintess. Feeling uncomfortable, Lily tries to break free, but Leisha grips her limbs tight and glared into her eyes. The requirement to be the saint is to be human. The little girl starts to panic. Meanwhile, the two below watch suspiciously but silently, finding it weird that the two ladies were so close to each other. According to the prophecy, the visitor from Azim village is actually a monster. With this, she wonders who that may be pertaining to. Lily quickly grew pale and tries to run away, but the Sanctez holds her completely still, saying it'll take her friends some time to climb up there. If she tries to run, she'll be deemed a monster, and she can take care of her in an instant. Leisha orders her to pray as this is her only shot at proving her innocence before the holy goddess. She forces her hand onto the page and keeps it there. With this, Lily closes her eyes in terror, knowing she has no other choice. As soon as she started praying, a brilliant light flashed, nearly blinding all those who looked at the altar. The scriptures were the source, and the worst turns to reality. It reveals that the one praying was not human at all. Confirming her suspicions, Leisha looks at the terrified child and aims a magic circle, calling her a wretched monster of calamity. The poor girl closed her eyes, unable to do anything to defend herself. Another blinding flash illuminates the room, signaling the deliverance of divine punishment. However, things don't go as planned as Lugo arrives to save her just in time, carrying the girl. He apologizes, saying it must have been scary. His arm was wounded, but he says it's nothing but a scratch. Leisha commands him to step aside and casts even more spells. She says the girl is a monster and that they must eliminate her as soon as possible. He's shocked by what he says, and Lily doesn't do a good job of defending herself, simply trembling with horror and saying it's not true. Surprised by how much she's affected, he hugs her tight, apologizing for not taking her away earlier. The Saintess scoffs at them, mocking the idea of them escaping her clutches. Just then, Maya appeared above the pair, answering the young man's call. She takes Lugo's hand and carries two people. While it's completely unexpected, she blames the crazy Saintess. They reach the only door in the room, which then becomes riddled with golden magic circles. To make matters worse, people started flooding out. It's a teleportation spell like the one that brought them there, but now it's allowing holy knights in. Leisha watched with a sinister smile from above, refusing to let any of them leave without permission. Allies blocked their way forward while Alicia pressured them from behind. It's the first time they've seen Lugo get hurt, and it looked like a fairly serious one at that. The little girl was busy blaming herself, but the masked man called and asked her to raise her hand up. As soon as she does, Maya takes her arm, and the two are left in each other's care. The Sylph doesn't know how things ended up this way, but she knows and understands what she must do. She lets go of Lugo and tells him to come back safe and alive. Not really planning on dying, he neatly lands on the floor. The masked man faces the group of holy knights alone, but instead of an intense clash off the bat, he raises his hands. To them, it seems like he's hopelessly begging for his life. A dark concentration of magic appeared above his body, which the Sing test recognizes as high-level gravity magic. The two ladies flying above are confused at first, more so when they feel themselves being pulled in by a spell. Leisha questions why he would attack his own allies, but Maya lets her body get dragged completely and screams at everyone to make way. The knights don't falter and prepare to strike them down, but Lugo has absolute faith in his friend's capabilities. The fairy queen calls him out for abusing her a little too much, but rises up to the challenge regardless. Calling on powerful wind magic, she blows those blocking her path and clears the way. With Lily holding on tight, they swiftly move past the crowd, skillfully dodging everyone to make it through to the door. Seeing this, it becomes obvious that they're heading toward the teleportation circle, which works both ways. If they touch it in time, they can return to the other side. The knights are ordered to seize them with magic, but it's too late. The ladies have no idea where they'll end up, but they can figure that out later on. The last thing Lily sees is Lugo standing behind the crowd, raising his hand and telling them to leave things to him. Unable to do anything but trust his confidence, the two disappear, leaving the masked man alone with the Saintess and her vanguard. She scolds him, emphasizing that he just made an enemy of her and the entire church. That said, he couldn't care less. His arrogance offends Leisha, who says she's much more terrifying than she seems. After all, she's the Sanctess who was once part of the hero's party. Summoning the holy sword, the guardian of the world gets ready to destroy all those who harm others. However, he knows all too well about her ruthlessness, having suffered from it firsthand. His wounded arm smokes, healing instantaneously without even using magic. Seeing this, she realizes that she's allowed 3 monsters into the sanctuary. Lugo argues that he isn't a monster, and even if his friends are, they are ones that serve others and value peace. If anything, they're the ones who deserve to live alongside humans. Leisha is enraged by the concept of coexistence and is prepared to eliminate all those who believe in it. She charges in, telling him to be a mere stain in her sacred blade. With one swing, light emerged from beneath where he stood and shot up like a tower of pure energy. Despite this, he backs away and remains unscathed. Gravity magic, healing, and now the ability to dodge the holy sword all deem him a dangerous being. Repeatedly called a monster, he walked calmly, saying she's called him that before. She finds it absurd, believing that they've never met in the past, closing in and backing away. As if to make it clear that he's capable of dodging, he asks if she really can't remember. However, she's too blinded by his skill and the need to eliminate such threats. The Saintess drives the blade into the ground. Having killed all that endangered the church so far, she's determined to do the same right now and summons beams of burning magic at the masked man. While he's trapped, not wanting to hit the blazing rays, she tells the holy knights to take the opportunity and slay the monster. Incapacitated by the Saintess attacks, Lugo is vulnerable to the knights' attacks. At least, that's what they thought. Warning them against interfering with his battle, he doesn't move a muscle and uses gravity magic again, dragging each and every person to the floor. The room is filled with screams. Meanwhile, Leisha is so impressed by his master of the magic that she gives him one last chance to be absolved of his sins and join her party. Having done that already, he flatly refuses, an answer she already expected. A blinding slash comes his way, and the Saintess is fairly sure of her victory this time. That is until she sees the spot he stood at completely empty. She doesn't follow right away, but a knight alerts her to something behind. Turning, she's shocked to see Lugo coming at her fast with a closed fist, summoning a wall to block. She manages to soften the impact, but the blow is still strong enough to break through her barrier and push her away. She barely keeps her footing by driving the sword into the ground, and even the masked man is surprised that she blocked. Unwilling to lose, she charged in the name of humanity. A simple swing is easily dodged. He's well aware of what it is and even knows the name. Ignoring her confusion, he continues and explains that the condition for activation is inscribing a seal in the air with the sword. Therefore, the best countermeasure is extremely close-ranged attacks. Fists rushed at her once again, and she struggled to block against the barrage of hits coming her way. Naturally, she's aware of her own weakness, which is why she mastered swordsmanship to compensate. Unfortunately for her, the opponent was far too strong and overwhelming. He goads at her, questioning why she's just defending. As the shield of the people, she refuses to fall for his provocation. Looking into his eyes, he recalls Lily, whom she labels as a dangerous monster, concealing its identity to blend in with humans. On the other hand, Lugo was someone determined to protect that monster and was even more dangerous. She spots an opening in his attacks and moves in immediately to take advantage of planting her feet onto the ground. She raises her sacred blade to deliver unto him divine condemnation. The sword is swung down in one smooth motion, but the masked man's sidestep is even smoother. Having dodged perfectly, he was now in a spot to counter and hit the defenseless woman with a powerful spinning kick. It strikes just enough to bring Lisha to the ground, where she cowers and questions where she went wrong. After joining the hero and his party, she cut down every imaginable kind of monster with the holy sword. In the end, she even cut off the hero's head on the kingdom's command. However, it resulted in the monsters becoming active. She was mistaken and was the one that deserved to be condemned, fallen before the masked man. The Saintess accepted that she was going to be crushed to death with gravity magic and didn't even raise her head. To her surprise, her veil and hair get wet as Lugo pours an entire bottle of potion from above. She's completely confused, not understanding why he'd do such a thing. He goes on about her moves losing finesse whenever she gets worked up. What's more, she loses focus when she feels like she has the upper hand. The lady is about to argue, but he just says that she hasn't improved despite his warnings. The entire room fell still as familiar bright red hair appeared, completely removing his mask. Lugo reveals his true identity, reminding her of his order to remember what she did. Seeing her supposedly dead leader greet her with cold eyes, Leisha trembles in shock, haunted by the memory of killing him. He walks past the blabbering sing-tests and onto the injured knights at the back. Apologizing for being so harsh, he pours Lily's potion on them as well, even promoting her work. They're pleasantly shocked by the fact that he's alive. Meanwhile, Leisha was still doubting her eyes, knowing it was impossible. That said, his strength was undeniable, and there's no one else who could do to her what he did. Her inner turmoil worsens, remembering how she personally cut his head off. Turning back, she sees his cold but seething gaze boring a hole right through her. It's in for sure. He was real, and she's come back to take revenge. Turning her around, she bowed and groveled in a hurry. Without raising her head, she apologizes, begging for a chance to explain herself. The young man is silent. She indeed owes him an apology. The sensation of cutting his neck that day still lingers in her hands, and the gruesome sight of what she did was still burned into the back of her eyes. In his helpless form, she mercilessly struck him down and burned his body. She lets it all out, but adds that she only did so because of the kingdom's orders. To her surprise, he says he knows. Quickly raising her head, she sees him turning away and saying it's all in the past. The sight of him leaving pains her, so the former comrade called out, begging him to listen and saying she was terrified. With desperate tears streaming down her face, she asks for forgiveness. Meanwhile, Alice is unable to take the pitiful display and runs to soothe her master. Holding her back, she asks Lugo what happened. Seeing her armor, he recognizes her as the knight who visited the village. Confirming it, she introduces herself as the Saint Test personal guard. Certain that she was listening anyway, he restates the fact that Leisha killed him. The information makes her heart drop. Feeling like it's a joke, she recalls how her master grieved when he died. The Saint Test doesn't even look up. After he was gone, she organized countermeasures against newly active monsters and passionately worked to shelter children who lost their parents in attacks. They traveled everywhere in search of people who can take over as heroes. This is also the reason why she wanted to recruit the 3 from the village, standing above them and giving a smiled amusement. He calls her actions splendid. The short but striking response hits the knight. The hero himself is implying that all those efforts were made as a facade of lies. He tells her to ask Lisha instead. The Sanctus frees herself from her guard's embrace and silently puts her head to the ground. In absolute disbelief, disgust is written on Elisa's face. Realizing that all she can do is apologize, she grips the traitorous master's body tight and screams. The entire legion of holy knights placed their trust on her, but her actions just made the monsters multiply, leaving even more children orphaned than ever before. Countless comrades died, trying to fill the gap left by the hero, and it was all their leader's fault. Again, Lisha doesn't even have it in her to meet her guard's eyes. Told to look at her, the same test turns her head up, revealing a weeping face that was completely covered in tears. Given the gravity of her actions, Elise is unable to accept her master's apologies no matter how many come. Just then, Lugo called to the knight, telling her not to be too hard. It's surprising to hear this from the one who should be angriest, but he says she isn't at fault alone, as she was only acting on the kingdom's orders. This only makes it worse since the place they were fighting for was actually the root of evil. Speaking frankly, the former hero says they shouldn't do anything unless they want to be assassinated. In fact, he didn't do anything and was still killed. The reality that she can't rebel hits. Lugo puts his mask back on and calls to the knight leader. He makes it clear that he is nothing more than an ordinary man from Azam village. She nearly salutes, immediately understanding what he means. Then calling to Lisha, he orders her to keep her hands away from Lily, Maya, and their quiet village. Still bowing, she affirms the order. Lastly, the rest of the knights are told to forget what happened that day. Should his identity be revealed, he promises to mercilessly come after each of them. The indomitable hero's warning makes them obedient. Even without saying it, there was no one in the room that would dare go against him. Nearly forgetting, Lugo asks the Saintess to open the door, adding that there's no one who can open it aside from her. Getting off the ground, she runs to follow and grabs the handle. In that moment, she questions where she strayed to the wrong path and how she managed to raise her hand against the man she respected above any other. The door opened and the masked man walked through, waving casually as he apologized for the trouble. Seeing the man she killed leave again, still as easygoing as ever, Lisha falls to the ground in tears. The knights watched as she hates herself. Elise seems to have calmed down and says she won't dare to ask for a complete explanation. However, it hurts to see her respected master in such a state. She starts to say that they can start anew if she truly regretful for what she did. However, the knight sees the small woman's trembling frame and realizes that she's already put in more than enough effort to atone for her sins. Apologizing once more, she walks away to cool her head. Meanwhile, Lisha recalls how she had no choice, as she received a revelation from the divine. Before everything happened, she placed her hand on the scriptures and prayed to the goddess. Shock and confusion enveloped her face as the golden letters commanded her to kill the hero. She tried to protest, but the revelation continued, saying the country will be destroyed unless she obeyed. The distraught Sinks immediately brought the matter to Ort, suggesting that there must be some kind of mistake. However, the old man strictly rejects such thoughts and outright decides to kill Luke. Indignant, she protests, saying he's one of them and questioning how the old man can even think of killing his #1 apprentice. He reasons that the goddess prophecies have never been wrong, and she should know that better than anyone alive. Besides, the hero has a habit of keeping his true powers a secret even from them. Even Orc, who's supposed to be the wisest among them all, is kept completely in the dark. Still refusing to accept it, Lisha gathers magic, willing to fight against it, but is told not to bother. They both know she isn't strong enough to beat him, so he just walked forward, ready to report the matter to the king. While he does, she is not to speak to anyone about the revelation she received and the plans they made today. With that, she fell to her knees and trembled in loathing. Just as she does now after the hero, she would trade spares her life. Meanwhile, Lugo was speeding across the capital, eager to take care of Lily after it was revealed that she isn't a human. Back in the capital, Maya dragged Lily in a rush. The knights weren't coming after them, but they have no way of knowing if there are other enemies. The apothecary questions where they were going and is told that they're headed to the only neutral ground that exists in every city. After a while of running, they finally see the Adventurer Guild's entrance. Bursting through the door, they manage to secure their safety. Their abrupt entry and church garments confuse those inside, so Maya hurriedly handles the situation, apologizing for bursting in and introducing themselves as members of the church. While some think that there must be a request from Eret, the Sylph demands to see the boss. However, a couple of familiar figures stepped in and said it's a little too early for them to be telling lies. She panics, feeling like she was exposed far too quickly. Looking at Lily, the fairy queen considers having her escape first, but where can they go? So many thoughts rushed through her mind, but the little girl suddenly cried in relief. Confused, Maya turns and finally understands as she sees Lulu and Garam looking at her from above. Settling down, they explain how they got into trouble after Lisha forcefully took them to the church. The same test friend apologizes, feeling remarkably responsible for exposing them in the first place. Moving on, they're welcomed into the guild, thinking they're there to become adventurers. Maya rejects the proposal and says they're only interested in recruiting Lugo. Instead, she says they came there for a different reason and shows a letter bearing the masked man's seal. He gave it to the Sylph before Alicia came to the village, saying it should be given to the guildmaster should an emergency arise. Since Lulu seems to be acquainted with important people, she guesses that she must know the master too. The investigator accepts the task, remembering that she owes the masked man anyway. A request from such a powerful person is probably too much for her to handle. But in this case, it might be something the head of the guild can help with. Soon enough, the visitors find themselves gagging and covering their noses. An awful and harsh stench was seeping out of a big room, but the investigators say that they'll eventually get used to it. Garam smiles, saying they have no choice as it was the guildmaster's room. As soon as he opens the doors, the horrendous stench bursts out and hits their noses hard. The two ladies push each other inside, not wanting to go in first, but are both forced to enter anyway. Inside, they see a lone person stirring something in a huge cauldron. The thick and gloopy liquid seemed to be medicine being compounded by a girl with a tiny frame. Lulu announces themselves, saying they have visitors. Slightly surprised, she looks at the odd combination and quickly makes sense of what was happening. She hops off the stool and chuckles, telling them that there's no need to be so nervous. She introduces herself as Lara, the guild master and an alchemist, and welcomes them to the guild. Given her playful smile and odd credentials, the two visitors can't help but be surprised. Lily can't believe that the little girl before them was the master, seeing that she's even younger. What's more, Maya was completely on guard after seeing her face. The Sylph says she isn't the head of the guild for nothing and notes that the scars all over her body are probably from battles. Lara just smiles at the deduction. She holds the confidence of a true warrior and must have seen a lot of combat. That said, Lily feels something more, something uncanny familiar. After a while of thought, she realizes that the girl gives the same vibe as Lugo. Saving the explanations for later, the master moves on to the main topic, saying they must have reason for being there. Taking a seat to talk things over, Lara reads the letter that was meant for her. The others haven't seen it yet and wonder what's inside. Apparently, the masked man is simply asking for the guild to protect the two. Speaking like familiar friends, she says he's as blunt as ever. Again, Maya is the first to notice and confirms that the two know each other without missing a beat. The head says he was her master in swordsmanship. This takes everyone by surprise, not expecting Lugo to take a student on. Not missing their faces, the girl agrees that it isn't like him at all. The adventure world was too tough for a girl who is untalented in magic, but then she met him. Because of their training, she managed to become an errancer, but couldn't go higher as she became the guild master. Lily silently wonders how old she is and is shocked to hear that she's 25. While Lara playfully asks questions, the girl panics and asks how she keeps reading her mind. She brushes it off and says she's just good at reading people. And at this point, the young lady is just exposing herself regardless of skill or some awesome power. There must be a reason why she's the guild master. The alchemist then accepts the task of protecting them until they return to the village and takes full responsibility even if the church is after them. They never revealed their problem with the church, so Maya asks if it's her power working again. That said, it doesn't take a genius to understand what it means. When nuns run into the guild, finding it odd that they left Lugo, Garam asks what he's up to. They explain how he stayed behind to fight the knights, but the reaction to this information is lukewarm. The ladies insist that they should help him regardless of how strong he is, but Lara tells them to calm down as he's strong enough to fend for himself. Her words don't really quell their hearts, but one thing does. Told to look behind them. Everyone is surprised to find Lugo listening silently with his arms crossed. Reuniting, they check on each other's conditions. He shows his arm off, already completely healed from the injury earlier. Eager to keep his powers a secret, he attributes the fast healing to the apothecary's potion. Having made them herself, Lily knows that her potions aren't that effective. It's Lara's turn to reunite with her master, calling him out for making a bunch of girls worry. Given his appearance, she can't help but note how he's changed. He apologizes for worrying them and nonchalantly promises to be more punctual next time. With all that said and done, the guild master says it's time to eat. They haven't had a bite of food since teleporting, and with perfect timing, Lily's stomach growls loud enough to fill the room. After turning red from embarrassment, a huge and delicious feast is laid on the table in front of them. The little girl cries while holding a loaded fork. She's told to pick between eating or crying, but she's going through so many emotions to stick to one. Fortunately, Lulu is there to take care of her and wipe the snot away. She tries to calm down, but quickly falls into tears again after seeing Lugo safe and sound. Soon enough, the plates are empty and their bellies are full. Lara is delighted that they enjoyed it and again reaffirms her promise to keep them under the protection of the guild. Gratitude is exchanged, but now they have to have the difficult conversation and explain what exactly happened with the Church of Ararat. Lara asks to know why the church was after their group. Maya is glad that she asked and takes the initiative to explain things in detail. Unfortunately, she doesn't get much of a chance as Lugo chimes in, saying Lisha attacked Lily. Hearing that this is the reason they fought, the guildmaster's expression is riddled with surprise. Soon changing into disappointment and sadness, she bows her head to apologize, saying the same test is also one of their members. She's told to raise her head as it isn't her fault, but the girl who knows his past says it must have been tough for him. With this, Lugo asks that they step aside and have a private conversation later. Since they're master and student, the others know that it's something they shouldn't meddle with. What's important is that they're all alive despite the terrible thing Lisha did. Fortunately, it won't be a problem anymore since he personally spoke to her and the knights and got their vow to leave their village alone. Their agreement is enough to put his mind at ease. While it isn't with the entire church, the saint has standing as something to be respected, and that very position will likely keep them from having an all-out war. Lily can't help but wonder what their real connection is and start to feel distant. She wants to know more, but can't remove the fear in her heart. There's one thing the guild master still doesn't understand. Why did Leisha attack Lily in the first place? It's odd as she brought her to the city and dressed her in divine garments, meaning she's a saint candidate. The room falls still as they wait for an answer. Before entering the holy place, they indeed called her a candidate, but changed tune after walking to the altar. Just then, Lily began trembling. Unable to meet their eyes, she reveals that she's the scary one, drawing confusion from everyone there. She thought about not mentioning it and stopped herself from prying into Lugo as she feared being exposed herself. Lara wonders what could be so scary about a small and cute human, but the apothecary reveals that she's a monster. The audience's eyes grew in shock. Unfortunately for her, the altar and scripture saw through her secret. Calling to her friends, she shamefully bowed her head, saying she doesn't deserve their protection. Maya calms her down and says it doesn't matter, as she's a monster too. She desperately tries to convince the girl, but then Lara spoke. As the guild master, she doesn't abandon tasks she accepts, but the guild needs to know the circumstances of those they protect, so they need an explanation. The room was silent, waiting for her to speak. Lily takes a deep breath and shares that she's Impusa. The revelation brings varied reactions as the name is associated with a legendary demoness. Because of the harm caused to civilians, a bounty has been placed on the dangerous creature. She admits that it's her. Lulu recalls how the apothecary helped her and how nothing bad happened. In this case, Garam suggests that there might not be a problem after all. Impu's power is mana drain, which affects anyone she touches. After such contact, it's impossible to remain unharmed. It's the creature's method of attack and sustenance, but a light brush like with Lulu won't activate the power. On the western continent, their kind is known as a succubus. Garam also heard of them when he first started out, told that he's an easy target. Looking at Lily's body, he confesses that it won't be hard to be charmed, a comment that earns him a painful punishment. They then go over possible causes for their kind's extinction, leading the young girl to share something shocking. Apparently, despite her innate and natural urges, she never drained mana from anyone since she was born. The villagers are brought back to Azam village. In Lily's clinic, the apothecary laid on the bed, receiving the examination unlike how it usually goes. She lay there, unaccustomed to being the one studied. After revealing that she and Impusa never drained anyone's magic since birth, everyone exclaimed in shock. It's their direct source of sustenance, making them question if she's okay. Oddly interested, Lulu and Lara moved in to immediately run some tests, breathing hard like beasts seeing a fresh pile of meat before them. With this, the guild master carefully checks on her appearance, assuring that she definitely looks human. Lulu might have noticed if she used her blessing, but she never even suspected it. The girl apologizes for having them come all the way to the village, but Impusa are creatures of the legend, which should be kept a secret from the capital. They brought all the equipment they'll need, so all she has to do is sit back and relax. Although they try to ease the tension, their expressions are oddly sly. Lara closed in with a stethoscope, eager to start the examination. There's nothing out of the ordinary, and she was in absolutely perfect health. Wondering if she's experienced any health issues before, Lily shares that she often feels hungry even after eating. Asked what she did during such instances, she walked over to a glass cabinet and took a bottle of pills out. She hands the supplements over, and they see that they're mono recovery pills made from loca fruit. Having been self-taught, she sheepishly says she developed them herself. Lara tries one out as a test and is pleasantly surprised as mana filled her body. There's a gentle warmth of magic spreading and was more potent than a raw fruit. Too weak to defeat monsters and not wanting to drain people, she experimented and ended up with the pill. She eventually became an apothecary and calls necessity the mother of invention. With a smile, Lara asks if they could sell the medication in their guild. It's a wonderful idea that would make her the official apothecary of the guild, making them easier to protect. Lily bashfully tries to decline, but is told that her selling such effective supplements would actually benefit the guild. In the first place, Lulu had already intended to recruit her from the moment they met. Now she takes her hand and asks the girl if she could lend them her help. It's a mutual agreement of protecting each other, leaving no one with any reason to decline. They relay the deal to Lugo, who seems approving enough of the idea. From then on, anyone who messes with Lily will face the wrath of the guild. Noting how indebted Lara is to her master, she tells him to call her for help anytime. Moving on, Lugo apologizes to the little girl for getting her dragged into his bad blood with Lisha. Waving her hands, she declines such words and admits that she actually suspected him for a long time. It's news to him. So she explains that he suddenly appeared in the village with an odd mask, which he never took off even when bathing. What's more, he was incredibly strong. It was because of her own guilt and fear of being exposed as a monster. Her parents were killed when she was young, so she did her best to fit in and live quietly. The scariest part was that she was afraid of herself and the fact that she was constantly deceiving the villager. With pigeon gazes, they watched the poor girl weep as she asks for forgiveness. Lugo pats her head, promising that it's okay and understanding that everyone has a past they don't want to talk about. Her heart is wrung by his kindness, and relief finally washes over her body. Lily hugs the masked man, still repeatedly apologizing. He envelopes her in a warm embrace, creating a scene lovely enough to make the onlookers blush. Later calming down, she says she's been crying in front of them too often recently, but they say it's no problem and tell her to count on them from now on. Moving on, Lara calls to Lugo asking if they can have a moment together to talk about the future. With this, the master and student finally reunite. Speaking in private, Lugo tells Lara that they'll hide Lily's identity for now and make the nights quiet. Even with his connections, she questions if Lisha will actually keep quiet, but it's one thing he's actually certain of. As for his basis, it's the sacred prophecy itself. A monster's daughter in the Azam village will bring salvation to the capital. The guild master hears this for the first time. Lugo thought it was speaking of Maya, but if it's actually speaking of Lily, then the saintess will protect her with everything she has. Back at home, Lulu looks at the Impusa scars incurred from when she cut her wings off. They faded quite a bit, but it speaks of how hard pretending to be human was. Unfortunately, she had no choice but to pull them out despite the agony, as she wouldn't look human otherwise. When she entered the village, she realized she forgot her tail and hurriedly pulled that out too, leaving another scar. Lulu can't believe how casually she was sharing such traumatic experiences. Wanting to help, she wonders if healing magic can take them away. That said, it's unknown how human healing magic can affect an Impusa, and this goes both ways. Another factor is the mono drain, which might take too much without them meaning to. This leaves the normal methods for Impusa, but the investigator suddenly gets an idea. She suggests using mono drain like her kind does, but it's something the girl wants to avoid as much as possible. After all, she might end up hurting someone. Even doing it on monsters is not an option as the ability works in a special way. One method is a kiss, and the other is something she can't say out loud. This gets Lulu's mind going, and she quickly realizes what an alternative for a kiss might be. With both women blushing, they set the option aside for now. Even with caution, doing it on a human might cause life-threatening complications. Just then, Maya arrived and joined the conversation saying she had an idea. To their surprise, Pei appears with a similarly loud entrance, sharing that she was eavesdropping on their entire conversation. They're shocked to hear that she was under the bed this entire time, but the Sylph is their housemate who just hides everywhere waiting for their call. She knows all of Lily's secrets, even the most sensitive ones. Hearing this, the little girl turns sinister, realizing that she's been spying all this time. Running away, the Sylphs change the topic and suggest a mono drain partner and say they have a candidate. The two ladies argue that they should realize that there's no person perfect for the job. The actions involved in the process is one thing, but it's also life-threatening. On the other hand, the sneaky Sylph say the more the better and suddenly drag the little girl out of the house. Continuing to walk around, they give no explanation of where they were going. Lily thinks they're headed to the old chief, but he's too old to drain. That leaves only one option, which Lulu immediately gets. They find Lugo and Lara, who are surprised to see them all gathered together. With one look, the guild master understands the situation and calls to the masked man, saying they have business with them. Pei doesn't waste any time and reveals that Lily wants to kiss Lugo. It's the first the young lady has heard of this, and the blatant revelation makes her scream and turn red in shock. Lily hurriedly covers the Sylph's mouth, questioning what she was saying all of a sudden, saying she helped her a lot. Pei claims that this is her way of repaying the favor. She simply said what the girl was too shy to say herself. She tries to argue, but blushes as she remembers the moments when he made her heart skip a beat. Even if she does feel this way, they were meddling in her affairs too much. Maya fails to read the room and scolds the girl for staying idle. She insists that the man is hers, but will allow her to borrow as he's the perfect mana drain partner. He has a huge pool of mana and won't die even if she constantly uses mana drain. Lara piles on, mockingly telling her master to kiss the girl if she wants it. Considering the option, he confirms if a kiss really is the only condition for the transfer. Hearing her affirmation, he walks to her and suggests giving it a try. Her face turns beet red again, making him panic and think that she might have a fever. The others are of no help, instead pressuring her to just get it over with and kiss. Lily shakes her head, insisting that she's healthy as she always has been. Misunderstanding, Lugo says she's lying and notes that her eyes are rapidly darting around. If it's to keep her healthy, he'd be happy to serve as her monitoring partner. The proximity of their faces made her heart race. Meanwhile, the four women sat like they were watching a show. Her mind ran wild, already imagining before it happened. Unable to take it, the poor girl suddenly darted away, absolutely refusing to engage in such actions. The grown-ups are awkwardly left there and scold each other for teasing too much. 2 weeks later, the mana supplements are being packed in Lily's potion room with Pei helping out as usual. Garam entered with a large bag, wondering if things were all ready. They call from above, saying they just finished. The adventurer takes a seat for now and waits as the Sylph brings him the boxes of pills they prepared. He's delighted by the amount, even noting how impressively they've been packaged. Pei is small, but her effort and diligence was top-notch. Lily follows soon after, wondering if this batch was enough. Confirming the order, he places them all in his bag for now, commenting on how efficient they are, taking less space, costing less, and giving more mana. Getting another sly look in his face, Garam leaned close enough to whisper and asks the child if she's willing to share the secret recipe. The two women are immediately on high alert and ask if someone ordering him to ask such questions. Caught red-handed, Pei is enraged by the despicable behavior of taking advantage of the young apothecary's kindness. She kicks him hard, but Lily calms the little Sylph down, saying it's not what she thinks. They explained that he was just testing her. If she gave the recipe away to anyone, it would hurt the guild's business and violate the partnership. Passing with flying colors, she tells him to report of her rejection. Besides, even if she does give them the recipe, there are far too many other factors to consider. While this is true, he tells her to be careful since her reputation is spreading fast, which may lead to danger. Thanking him for the advice, she then asks Pei to grab a couple of painkillers as they need to give Garam something for his swollen hand that she kicked. Sitting as she spread it on his bruised arm, he shares that there's another purpose for his visit. The adventurer hands them 2 separate letters, one from the guild and the other from the Holy Church. The latter one makes Lily sweat bullets and turn pale.
Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.